wanted to thank everyone that contributed to us going and making it possible, because every ministry that we did there, you ministered also by sending it. Oops. It's not wanting to go, Daniel.
Okay, hang on.
We had 16 in our group, and we can all go in the first flight. So half of us went in a later flight. This is the first that I flew with. Get the hang of this. I've never used one before. You can see David in the background there. He's full of life and his photo loneliness. As we arrived in Port-au-Prince, it was a strange combination of old and new. You see a statue there in the distance. It was three hands holding up the world. So they have some new influence as well as the old. After you leave Port-au-Prince, you travel for, probably about 2 hours to get to Hinch, and that's all paved roads. Once you leave Hinch, that's the road for the next 2 to 3 hours. Just when you think it couldn't get any worse, they tell you, we have to go through the river. And this is a good day because the water's low, and we're not going to have to sit there for 5 hours and wait for it to go down so we can get through it. They're building bridges all over Haiti in an attempt to make it better so that people can get where they're going without having to go alongside it. You can see how rough that is. And that's the type of place that you would have to go normally before the bridge is finished. You see donkeys, heavy laden with things going to market. You see trucks that are loaded to the point where you wonder how in the world the poor truck can get there, and wondering if that's going to fall off and impair you getting where you're going. People stacked like merchandise on top of their vehicles. Exactly. We saw something similar to that one coming toward us, and I was praying for the poor young men on top that they would see their 20th birthday. You see motorcycles everywhere, and it's not uncommon to see this with 5 to 6 people piled onto one motorcycle. And at one point we saw a door coming toward us, and they beep at you, and it's your obligation to get out of the way or the door, or they will knock you over. People with loads on their heads that have just killed us. I can't quite see that one. I think it's, it's the street of Pion. When you first go in, it's rocky like that, very poor conditions, but then as you go on, there's parts of the city that are paved. You see the businesses on both sides of the road with crumbled walls, so some poor areas, some good. These two beautiful homes are houses belonging to their members of parliament, and to the left of the greenhouse you could see a little shack type place. So there's the wealthy and the poorer class. This wall here that's striped in the foreground is a city park, and that's only open on Sunday because they don't want the people to destroy it. There's more businesses. These red trees are everywhere. They're loaded with blossoms. Is that what it's called? And there's one of the flowers up close. There's a view from the rooftop of the school. You can see how green and lush most of Haiti is. There's Pastor Jebby. He's the pastor of the Fontaine Church, which is about an hour away from where we were. He needs our prayers because it's one of the poorer churches. And he has an orphanage with 10 children. His desire is to build it bigger, but he lacks the finances. So every day he said he has to turn away children that the parents are bringing to him, saying we can't feed them. And he says, but I don't have any more facility. This was our sleeping quarters. You can see we had 5 sets of bunk beds. This is the front of the Pion Church. The inside, they were just taking so much pride in the church, remodeling it. All over the front there, they were putting these marble like tiles that they were cutting, and right now you see it as brown on the staircase there, but they actually tiled all of that while we were there that week with marble. And in the background you see the stonework and a picture And they had built a baptistry in there, and then they were completing the arch of the baptistry while we were there. The poor men worked every night till about 11, and they were trying so hard to get it ready for Sunday because they wanted it so we could be there with them in the sanctuary. And then somebody broke the news to them Saturday night, you know, they can't walk on that tomorrow because it won't be set. So we had to wait till Monday to go in their sanctuary. But we enjoyed church with them out under the trees on Sunday morning. That was the center aisle that they were paving with tiles. The men working on the archway. This is a view from the L-shaped blue building, which is their school. And I think I have a closer picture of the green building is the orphanage in Peon that our church actually built for them, and it houses 20 children. They've had those children for all their life, most of them, and now most of those kids are between 15 and 20 years of age. One of the beautiful skies. When we were traveling out of Hinch onto the dirt road, our poor little truck was headed uphill and it decided to die. So two of the men stayed behind with all of our baggage, and unfortunately all of our canned goods that we were going to have for our evening meals. And so we had skipped lunch while we were traveling because most of Haiti's food isn't safe for us to eat as Americans. And we just had our bottled water. So by the time we were getting ready to enter to Peon, we were really hungry, and I thought, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat since everything's back on the truck? But the Haitian ladies had gotten together and cooked us food that was suitable for Americans, and we had a lovely feast. And all of our portable fans that we were going to use on our beds were also in the truck. And so the Lord in His mercy sent a beautiful storm, and it cooled down the building, and then the wind began to blow, and it blew out the heat. And actually, at 5 o'clock that morning, we woke up frigid, so we had to grab some extra little blankets and things that we could find to cover up. This is one of the streets of Peon. Dana Johnson looking at a donkey. That was our beautiful table that they sat for us every day with more food than we knew what to do with. Two of our kitchen help. And this is a picture of the kitchen. It was on the back porch, a screened-in area. And these dear ladies worked out there with no fans, with a wooden countertop that had holes in it, with little pots in it that held the live coals. And so they had 3 of those that they cooked most of our food on, and one on our convenience of a stove, but they preferred the charcoal. There's Madame Alphonse. She did our table every day. There was the storm that I told you about, blew in and cooled us down. This little darling, she was out dancing in the rain, and it was supposed to be a video, but I guess it's not going to play. But she was just wiggling her little hips and getting her hands going and splashing, having a good time. There's the front view of the school. There's a truckload of children that came for BBS, and we had been told to prepare for 1,000. And so that first morning when only 300 showed up, we were a little disappointed, but I think it was God in His mercy because we had not communicated well with our teenage helpers. They didn't really know what they were supposed to do, and we had trouble communicating with our translators. So it was a little chaos that first morning. We got it together that afternoon with a meeting, and the next day, 1,000 children rolled in. And then the following day, we had so many that the sanctuary was full, and outdoors was full, and every classroom was overflowing. We didn't know what to do with all the kids, but I guess they still heard the word of God because 120 children came to Christ over the time. There's Brother Walkie playing. Them leading songs. I'm not sure why these aren't playing. There's several of them that are supposed to be videos. This should have been a video of little girls. They were up on a bench, and the little one in the stripes would get all of the rest of them doing some kind of little chant, clapping their hand and stomping their legs together. And then at some point, we just all knew it was time to jump down and giggle and then go up and do it again. This was us introducing them to bubbles. Best $2 I ever spent. They had over an hour of fun chasing bubbles. And this was the beginning of our craft room. We prepared for the kids. A couple of them wandered in, and we were getting ready. And then this is when they actually came in. crowded it was. No room to move. And that one's kind of dark, but you can see she's smothered in children. It was so full that we overflowed out onto the stairs. That one almost came home in my suitcase. There they are out on the stairs because there's just no more room. This is Dana doing a presentation in drama of the cross. And this was a skit they did wearing the 12 robes. This was dresses that we took to Walkie's children, and we also gave dresses out to the children in the 3 orphanages. And we took them Bibles from Christian Fellowship Ministries. And we're just really blessed. This is the Fontaine Church that I told you we need to pray, especially for. He has lesser finances, lesser building. This should have been a video too. I don't know why they're not playing it. In the middle of the service, these beautiful men, about 12 of them, got up and they started singing in their language. And they sing and they just get into it with their whole heart. So it started out with their hands going. The next thing I knew, their feet were going both directions and they were swaying. And they just were really just serving God with their whole heart. Before Sunday school even starts, they get together to learn the Word. And so this is a memory class where the guy in the orange would quote and then they would respond back and they were learning something out of the book of Matthew. This is us waiting for service to start in our second Sunday morning service that day. Just hanging out with them after service. This is the beautiful children, 10 of them from Fontaine, and they are all orphans that Pastor Jebby is taking care of. This is what broke my heart. He only had room in the back of his church in 2 closets to put these children. So this is the room that the 5 girls share. As you can see, there's no window, there's no floor space to play, no place to hang anything. It's just that big and a cloth across the doorway. So at night they have no fan, they have no window. So we need to pray that it gets a better orphanage for them. That was for the 5 girls. The 5 boys are right next door in the next closet. And it's just very, very poor, but like he said, at least they have a bed and food. So it is better than being on the streets. There's the children receiving their Bibles. And we gave them sunglasses and they thought that was cool. This is the rain I told you about. It came down every night about 6 o'clock. This is one of the more wealthy churches in San Rafael. This is their boys' dorm, and the girls have a dorm equally nice on the other side of the living room. The living room is large, and it has about 6 or 8 couches in it, and they have 2 tables. This little darling got tired out while we were playing games with them, so she just curled up on the sidewalk and went to sleep. This is the mother of the house looking over some of the dresses we were giving out. Giving a hug for receiving a dress. Here's one of the boys just enjoying those couches. And then at the end of our trip, excuse me, we had to leave Port-au-Prince really early the next day. And we didn't want a chance traveling at night on those beautiful roads that I told you about and crossing the river. So we went a day early to to Port-au-Prince to spend the night, and when we got to the hotel, even though they had made our reservations in March and reconfirmed them the day before, they said they didn't know who in the world we were or why we were there. They'd given away all their rooms. And so our lady in charge, Kim, she began to argue with them and showed them her receipt. And so at that point they said, well, we do have our suites left, so how about if we put you up in a suite for the same cost? So we ended up going from bunk beds in a crowded condition with no air conditioning to a lovely suite where we each had a king-size bed, air conditioning, and a bathroom to ourselves. So the Lord's favor was on us from that. Even at the beginning when we tried to get our airline tickets, they didn't have any space left in economy, so they said if we would go to business class, they would give it to us for the same price. So we just felt God's favor on us the whole time. It was a beautiful trip, and once again, I thank all of you for your help in sending our team, because it was because of you that it was possible.
Great, thank you, Donna. Brother Terry, nice to have you back.
So don't forget it.
I would like to just remind you about the Operation Christmas Child activities. I brought a couple of stuffed animals in that I found over at Dollar Tree this last week. So if you live near a Dollar Tree, you might want to go get one or two of them. That would be great, just to let you see what's going on. And also, if you're purchasing things for Operation Christmas Child, would you let Karen know what you got? She's keeping a track so we make sure we get enough, but don't go over too much in one area so we can kind of keep it balanced. So she'll be back in contact with you if you just email her. Shoebox lady, or it's KG something shoebox. I know that. Yeah. Well, I figure you can go talk to her. Get the details. Well, it's good to be back. It's I've enjoyed the summer and my vacation. Looking forward to it. We last year we had 79 in the junior high. As of Friday, we were at 112. Overall, the school is up 80 students, which is wonderful. So we have a lot of new teachers in elementary. For some times, we've only been able to have one grade. Like last year, we only had enough for one classroom for second graders. But they were too many for one, and not enough for two. So this year they have two teachers. So that's good. Second grade teachers are really thrilled with that. Not only was that second grade full, it was full of little kids who needed a lot of love and attention. Yeah. Then, excuse me. Last time I was here, we started a little bit on angels. Maybe you'll remember that. I'm going to just kind of review a little bit of that and go on to something here. All right. Who are angels? Through the history, people have been fascinated with angels and the messengers from heaven. A lot of misconceptions about angels. Some people think that if you die and you're good, you're going to become an angel. And other people think that angels look like those things on Valentine's Day cards, all fat and chubby with wings. Even one of the films remember showed that if this person dies, an angel rings a bell or something. You know, all these things, I think, but angels are powerful creatures. They have a significant job to do in God's plan, and they're known as God's messengers. And He sends them down to earth from time to time to help people understand part of His plan. Interesting thing about it is that there are some that are called fallen angels. You've heard of them, fallen angels. In the Hebrew, angel means as a deputy ambassador or a messenger, and whether it's from God or man, spiritual beings who sometimes take on human form. Excuse me. Here we go again. In Ezekiel, I want to take a look at Ezekiel 30:28 for the start. In creation story, let's take a quick back to Adam and Eve. Okay. Remember that, well, they were having fun in the garden, and the snake came along and said, "Did God surely say, you will surely not die? Go ahead and taste this thing. It's really good." And the temptation, of course, that set us all into the sin. That's good. This tempter has several names. What are the names? You know, Satan, devil. The what? Beelzebub. What? Lucifer. Any others? The devil. The destroyer. The deceiver. Evil one. Okay. All right, he has a lot of names. One of the names is Prince of Tyre. Prince of Tyre. And Ezekiel, in chapter 28, you see this when he's talking here about the Prince of Tyre. Tyre was, remember, the city on the coast? Excuse me, thank you. Put it where I won't kick it, maybe. I don't know about you, but I'm at the stage where I'm back to toddler where I kick everything, or bounce and I bounce into everything, and knock it over, reach for it. But that's just because I'm getting mature. So in Prince of Tyre, let's look at Ezekiel 28, verses 12 through 16. Here's a description of Satan. Okay? Prince of Tyre. The seal, and now take a look at this. Remember, Satan was one of the head angels. Okay? Before the creation of the earth. One of the head angels. All right, here's his description. Right? The seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. You were the anointed cherub who covers. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones. I don't know what the fiery stones are. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created until iniquity was found. You became filled with violence within, and you sinned. Description of Satan. Ultimately, Lucifer, Satan, devil, whoever you want to call him, sometimes he's called the god of this world. And in Revelation 20:10, we know at the beginning, now let's take a look at his end. It says, he will be cast into the lake of fire and brimstone and be tormented day and night forever and ever. So he goes from the height of the devil. These fallen angels have two different groups. Okay? And I didn't really realize this till I started thinking about this, but it answered a lot of questions I've had through the years. The first group is the angels who are mentioned in Jude 7 that say these were the ones who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own habitation. Now what does that mean? In Genesis 6, remember that fallen angels were the reason that God had to destroy the earth. I never thought about that much. But think about this. And this connects a lot of this because it never connected to me. Among those who rebelled against God were a number of angels who at that time were able to reproduce. Because they're male, angels are always shown as male. And these angels reproduced with the women. Remember? Okay. Or in Genesis 6:2, he says, the sons of God, the angels, saw the daughters of men, and they were beautiful. And they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. That was not part of God's plan. It was an abomination to God. And so he decided during this time, because of this unholy union of angels and men, we ended up with these great big people. And with the guys that were really strong, a lot of violence going on. And so God said, you know what? I can't let this continue. And he found one family. Now think about this. One family that were not infected with this seed from these demons. And I think, and I look at you and I think, how I don't know how you're in here, but I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, this is a pretty good crowd. Okay. What if it was just one family? Everybody else is evil and violent. That would be horrible. We think we've got troubles in our society. But remember that when Adam and Eve sinned, God said, I'm kicking you out of this garden unless because you might eat off the tree of life, which would be eternal life, and you're sinful. So you can't have that opportunity to go to heaven. All of you are gonna end up in hell. So he kicked them out of the garden so that they could protect that. Well, the interesting thing about this, I think, is that God gave these people on the earth 120 years to repent. 120 years. Noah's out there banging on getting the ark built. And I don't know if you even knew what an ark was, or a boat was, because of things that science think that it was maybe just a bubble of around the earth. It didn't really have rain necessarily. But Noah preached righteousness, and it says this. Noah preached righteousness to the wicked and violent generation, but they rejected his call, and they mocked him. And then the Bible describes Noah as in Genesis 6:9 as a just man, perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. What does this mean? That Noah was perfect in his generations? It's a reproductive history. His whole history was a family that stayed away from those demons. Those angels that came and reproduced and created all the violence. His family stayed that way. Now, Satan was trying, now think about this, by these angels and reproducing these demons. He was trying to stop God's plan for Jesus. Think about it. The genealogy of Jesus had to be pure for him to come through. So he kept one family, everybody else he got rid of. Okay? So there would be no, because of this situation, there would be no pure, undefiled genetic line through which Jesus the Messiah could be born. Except pure in his generations. Everyone had been defiled with demons. Look in Genesis 6, verse 4. Here it is. Remember this? Giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God, equals angels, came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men of old, the men of renown. Some people think that it's possible if these were the ones that have all the Greek gods that come down to earth and have all this interaction with people, that's where this all comes from. I don't know. That's a possibility, I guess. Just the legends of the ancient history that come in, and these stories of gods coming to earth and with people, mixing with mankind. And it says, afterward, after the flood, some fallen angels again tried to mate with the women to prevent the birth of the Messiah. What happened with those angels? God's got them chained down in the abyss, I think. I don't remember right. And they just took them all away so they wouldn't do that. Remember these? Have you ever thought about this when they come into the promised land? Okay, in Numbers, remember that they said that there were giants, the sons of Enoch, who came from the giants, the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them in Numbers 13. Remember, David slew Goliath, so a few of them were left over. Okay? And remember that Goliath had brothers, so there were 5 of them, and some people say that's why David had 5 sons. I don't know. Only needed one at a time. But these giants, some of these giants had 6 fingers and 6 toes, and were over 10 feet tall. There was an area called Bashan, which was known as the area of giants. And the term sons of God in Genesis 6, 2, and 4, and used 5 places in the Old Testament. Each time it refers to angels. And so in this area, the sons of God, instead of sons of God, sometimes it says angels. Daniel 3:25, the fourth man in there is shown as the Son of Man. Josephus has said many times in the Torah, in the Israeli history, Jewish history, the word angels, these fallen angels, they're around all the time, and they need to be careful with them. Even the new early church writers talked about them. For instance, in Peter, 2 Peter, he says, God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment. And did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, preacher of righteousness. Now, if you just read the Genesis account, it wouldn't make all that much sense. But if you look at this whole thing, this is all part of God's plan as it works through. These angels are males. They're capable, obviously, of reproduction, and their children turn out to be giants. But they cannot, Satan, remember, cannot create, can only twist. Some people think that Satan can create. He can't. He can only take what God has created and twist it to make it something that is against what God has created it for. And that's how we end up with all this sexual stuff that just twisted around. He's very good at that. And but the angels were actually created by God to help him in what he wanted to do and encourage him. And I don't know, I have a hard time with this thinking about how glorious it must have been in heaven before the creation of the earth. All this thing, he's creating all these angels, and they're doing their angelic thing, whatever it was, praising God, whatever else was going on. And then some of them just decide, when he creates earth, some of them say, forget you, God, I'm going, I can do something else. And he says, well, get out of my heaven. But some of them can still go up there until Satan is kicked out. Until Satan's kicked out, then they'll be staying there. In Numbers 13, that's the report about the giants. And then I'm going to skip down here because I want to get to something else here. The problem that we have with the Canaanites, people say, well, how come God said, kill all these Canaanites when you get there? Get them all. The problem was that they had such evil practices. And so let me just give you some of the practices, okay? Idolatry, pagan practices, offering your firstborn son as a burnt sacrifice, or bury you in the wall of the house of the building. Temple prostitution, perversion of every kind. And the plan was to infiltrate the chosen people and get them to go that way, and then the Messiah would get there. They were pretty good at it. God kept alive here. Which will make us feel odd. As the more I thought about this, the more I think, wow, our God is amazing. So the second category, and the first category was those angels that intermarried and then are trapped and chained. There's a second category of fallen angels, and those are the ones that didn't participate in that. But they're the ones who are running around today, creating all kinds of trouble. They're still free, and we see this in Ephesians 6, where he says our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. This last group still run around, but they will be defeated. They will be defeated. When Christ returns, his holy angels, those guys will be picked up and sent down to a very nice place. Matthew says that God prepared hell for the angels and for Satan and his angels. In Matthew 25:41, that he will also say to those on his left, depart from me, accursed ones, into the eternal fire which has been prepared for the devil and his angels. Okay? So these angels will be judged by Christ, and they will have some things going on there, but they will go up for judgment, just like humans will go for judgment. And we know that that's going to create some problems. Then we have Satan, who's going to be sent into the hole for 1,000 years. Be let loose again and create problems. But the whole thing comes back to this heavenly army. As God comes, He's going to take all these guys, and they're just going to be gone. And I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't it be nice not to have evil? Wouldn't it be nice not to have to worry about locking the car? In our neighborhood for quite a while, people have been breaking into cars, hiding, stealing, whatever. And do you have to worry about that, or even be concerned about that? I know at my grandparents' farm, nobody ever locked the doors. They just you go to somebody's house, they're not on, you just go on in. And nobody cared because they knew that you would take it. And if you needed it, you go ahead and take it. It was that thing, you know. But the interesting thing about these angels is angels of God are very interested in our salvation. They don't quite understand it. They're interested in how God, because when you receive Christ, the angels will go, yes, hooray, but I don't quite get it. I don't understand what's going on for sure. I think when we get to the end, I think they'll really know. Because in Luke 15, he says, likewise I say to you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. One sinner who repents. That's you, that's me. And we find that in Luke 16 also. Well, I'm going to stop there because I wanted to, maybe I'll give this to, maybe not. We've been looking at heaven, the things that have to do with heaven, I think. But what do you think about hell? They don't hear a lot of preaching about hell anymore. You hear this about a fire and brimstone preacher. Oh, I don't want to go there. I don't hear this fire and brimstone thing. It's kind of a negative thing that the media has gotten this brainwashed America into, you know. And I was looking through a book today on hymns and how the great crusades in America have been that fire and brimstone brought people to Christ. By the thousands. And we just, I'm sorry, Bill Graham's getting us a little but I wanted to say, what about, some people say, a good God wouldn't send people to hell. You send yourself? Ooh. Oh, but a cruel God would be, a cruel God wouldn't do that. But wouldn't it be cruel for him to hang Jesus on the cross with all the pain and humiliation, hang there and just say, okay, if you're good, you can come. If you don't really have to believe, you don't have to have a life that's saved by Christ. Gee, you're beautiful, you can come. You know, you got money, come on in. You help children, come on in. That's right, it wouldn't be heaven if the sinners are there. Well, we're going to be there, we're very clean by the blood of Christ. Okay, only clean. Okay, now, what do we know about hell? I'm going to hit you with a lot of stuff here. So, here's what, this is from Anne Graham Lotz in her book called Just Give Me Jesus, okay? Hell, what do we know about hell? Hell is a place of physical agony, mental suffering, and emotional sorrow. Jesus described it as a place of gnashing of teeth and weeping. Now, you ever hear somebody say, well, I'm going to go to hell and all my friends? My mom used to have a thing, a plaque on that. It doesn't work that way. Hell is a place of insecurity and fear. The Bible describes it as a bottomless pit, an abyss. Imagine the terror of constantly falling, desperately trying to grab onto something, but there's nothing to stop the fall. I found that when I tripped all the stairs down medieval time, down all the way down. Nothing to get till I could get to the bottom. Hell is a place where one lives in constant, conscious awareness of imminent danger. Hell is a place of instability. It's described as a lake of fire. Now, a lake changes and fluctuates, no firm surface on which to stand. Hell is a place where every moment is lived in uncertainty. Hell is a place of darkness. It's a totally devoid of light. You might want to point out when they say, I'm going to go to hell with your friends. Well, they may be there, but you're not going to see them. It's pitch black in hell. Nothing to distract people from their suffering and their sorrow and their fear and their insecurities and their instabilities. When they're sick, our suffering, when we're sick, seems to intensify during the night sometimes. We long for daylight. Isn't it interesting how light kind of makes you feel better sometimes? Hell, the dawn never comes. Hell is a place of loneliness. Each person is there alone. He or she may be able to hear the weeping and gnashing of teeth of others. And this is going to get you, no one to talk to. No one to cry with. No one to even yell at. Each person is isolated in hate and bitterness and jealousy and pride and selfishness and meanness. It's a place of dissatisfaction. It may be a literal fire, or it may be a physical sensation of burning, or maybe just an overaching yearning for God, for love, for joy, for peace, and life. Never will happen. It must be the equivalent of being intensely thirsty, but no, can't even get a drop of water. Hell is a place of separation from God. Every person who goes to hell will be separated forever from the source of life, the heart of love, the very one for whom he was created. God does not send anyone to hell. You send yourself there. When you refuse his gracious offer of salvation, God so loved. If you refuse to believe, you will perish and you will go to hell. The choice is yours. Desperate need for eternal life is met in Jesus Christ. All you and I need to do is just receive it. God didn't want anyone to perish. He wanted everybody to repent, and yet everyone outside the ark perished. Everyone on the outside of Christ will perish. Just different kind of perishing. So, with that joyful note, it's forever. Yeah, thank you. Worst part is forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It goes on and on. It's like a railroad. That's a you hear the train going by. Well, it's well. I hope it's well with your soul. Page 34. It is well with my soul. Like to stand. Wait a minute, we're not. We're still trying to remember how to stand. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. I'm going to have to stop there because we're out of time. Let's pray. Father, thank you for Jesus. Oh, Lord, what will we do without him? Lord, thank you for cleansing us, taking care of us, loving us, and saving us. Terrible things. Pray your guidance, blessing upon this week for everybody who has things going on. And for protection from the evil ones that are around us to try to